Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Very important Kentucky Derby qualifying points race at Santa Anita on Saturday. Race number 6 is the Grade 2 San Felipe. $400,000 is the purse. We're going a mile and a 16th. Let's take a look at this field. A full field in the San Felipe. Some very talented horses in here. National Treasure earned 2 Grade 1 placings as a 2-year-old, including the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He was third behind 2 very good 2-year-olds, Forte and Cave Rock. He ran okay in his seasonal debut and is expected to move forward.
Yeah, he's one of the ones in here for sure. If nothing else, Dan, I think we got a pretty good 3-year-old prep race here in Southern California for the first time in a while. It goes beyond the Baffert horses. It feels like there's a lot of talent in here. There's a big field. This is a very, very interesting race.
And it appears there's a lot of speed in here as well. Some of the very impressive last out maiden winners bring speed to the party. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector for the San Felipe. The number 8, Go Rocket Ride, went right to the top in his first start for trainer Dick Mandela. Won very easily. Tremendous early speed here. But the number 7, Hijazi, is not a slow horse by any means.
No, that's very true. Stretching out here for the 8 Go Rocket Ride with only 1 start under his belt. I mean, I guess they just sort of let him use his speed here and see what happens. He looks like a pretty talented colt, though. Even if this is a tough spot, I expect Hijazi to go for. But there are other horses with speed in this race.
A horse that's really hoping that this fast pace materializes is down on the inside. The number 1, Chase the Chaos, who won last time out in the El Camino Real Derby, going a mile and an eighth over the Tapeta surface at Golden Gate Fields. Chase the Chaos got a fast pace in the El Camino Real. He also got a very nice ride, and he comes with a good late run to win with a career best 83 Beyer. Now, while this horse has done his best running on synthetic, he's got a little bit of dirt in his pedigree. He's only raced once on the surface, a muddy track at Canterbury in his career debut.
Yeah, he was even under for turf that day, though. It'll be interesting to see. They're going to take a shot here, and they might as well, off of 2 blowout wins on the synthetic, and they're the 2 fastest races of his life, too. And he is a horse who might have something to run at here, Dan, if he can, improve on the main track, because he's going to have to improve if he's going to beat this field. He took advantage a little bit last time in a race that was sort of faster early and slower late. He might get a similar situation here, but this is a way better field.
They'll get a good gauge on his durability in this race, as by virtue of his victory in the El Camino Real, he's earned an automatic entry into the Preakness. The number 2 is National Treasure, one of the former Bob Baffert trainees. He's now with Tim Yakteen, second in the American Pharaoh and only a second lifetime start. Third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, third last time out in the Sham. Let's watch National Treasure's race in the Breeders' Cup, where he was relatively close to the solid pace, Mike, and these 2 horses are just a little bit better than he is, but he ran just fine. Talk about this race, and then take me through the Sham, where he was beaten by 2 nice 3-year-olds.
I mean, I feel like in this race he ran fine. It's the sort of, to me, the interesting thing about his final 2 starts as a 2-year-old, Dan, where he ran against his stablemate Cave Rock both times, is they didn't use this horse's speed in either of those races. They knew that Cave Rock was going to the lead, so they didn't try to make the lead with this horse. I won't say that it worked against him, but maybe it didn't give him his best chance to win. He still ran fine, I thought, in both of those Grade 1s. Off the layoff last time, it was kind of the same thing, where Baffert had the big 3 in that race. The horse that went to the lead was the winner, and the other 2 horses didn't go, and they just let that horse have the lead. I wonder when they start getting aggressive with this horse again, just to see if it makes any kind of a difference. He's good anyway. I feel like he's a horse who could be a little bit more dangerous if he manages to make the lead.
On the Shams comeback, a quality race thus far. The now sidelined Newgate, the runner-up, came back to win the Grade 3 Robert B. Lewis with a 100 Beyer. Reincarnate ran just fine last week despite some trouble in the Rebel. Practical Move is up next. He concluded his 2-year-old campaign with the graded stakes victory in the Los Alamitos Futurity, a Grade 2, going this mile and a 16th distance. He sneaks right up the inside, Mike, and gets it done.
He was good in here. He did get an absolutely perfect trip in this race, but I still thought he ran pretty well in this race, Dan. And it felt like an improvement for him off of his, prior couple of races. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for them cutting him back in the Bob Hope off of the maiden win. I'm not sure that shorter distances are great for this horse. To me, he looks like a horse, even though he's by Practical Joke, who wants to go long. And I think he's better going longer. And he showed that in his most recent start.
And he has a good tactical gear as well. There should be some hitting up front. It's not like he's some deep closer. He can stay within range. Bluegrass Go-Go is the number 4. He's still a maiden for trainer Doug O'Neill. Lasix off, blinkers off for this race after an improved performance against maiden optional claiming competition last time out, going 7/8 of a mile. He went right to the front in this race and gets run down late by Henry Q, who ran back Tuesday at Sunland Park in the Mind That Bird Derby.
Yeah, I mean, he just can't hold on at the end of this race. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not like he has some big excuse here to get run down at the end. Now he's got to stretch out, and he's got to do it way up in class as a maiden.
Genius Jimmy is up next. This horse has only raced once on dirt. It was his career debut. He faced a good field. The runner-up would come back to win with an 87 Beyer speed figure. They've concentrated on turf in his subsequent starts, and he really improved last time out with a gate-to-wire win. Maybe it was the addition of blinkers that sharpened his speed, but he also raced with Lasix that day, so Lasix off, up in class, surface switch.
Yeah, just a lot working against him, and it's not like he finds, some kind of soft derby prep race here, Dan. He's actually stepping into a really good, because I like the improvement he showed last time when they finally let him use his speed a little bit, but it's still hard to get behind him in this race.
Maybe getting back out to additional distance will help our next entrant, the number 6, Crypto Ride, who is stakes placed going 2 turns against Calbreds. This horse Lasix off, blinkers off this even performance against starter optional horses last time out, going 6.5 furlongs. He's just no match for the top 2, but he digs in and runs third.
Yeah, he's going to get a piece of this. It's still not a fast race. He's never a real factor in here, despite the class relief. And now he just feels like they've put him in a spot where it's going to be really, really hard for him to be competitive.
Bob Baffert handled Hijazi like he was a very nice horse as a 2-year-old. He ran him as a 2-start maiden in the Grade 1 American Pharoah, stretching him all the way out from 5.5 to a mile and a 16th, and he ran into Cave Rock and National Treasure. He then came back with his seasonal debut, sprinting, going 6.5 furlongs, and he went to the front in this race and was just too much. He finally found the field that he could handle, but boy, did he handle them. A 99 Beyer speed figure. This runner-up Worcester, he's pretty good in his own right, Mike. Hijazi is going to have to stretch out. He's got the pedigree to do it.
He does have pedigree to go a little bit long here, so we'll see what happens. And they did try to stretch him out in a Grade 1 last year. That's another race that American Pharoah did. Cave Rock was in there. He was going to the lead. Hijazi was not going to the lead. He had speed in that race too, but they just kept him 3 wide around the first turn and didn't try to go challenge for the early lead in that race, and it didn't work out. They let him use his speed last time. He was pretty impressive.
One of the more impressive debut winners we've seen this year at Santa Anita, Go Rocket Ride, the number 8, gate to wire and dominant in this maiden special weight in late January for Richard Mandela. Flavian Pratt just went right to the front, showed this field his heels, a 92 Beyer speed figure. He's going to have to stretch all the way out. The Lasix comes off. So not only does he deal with stronger competition, he might have to deal with a stronger pace as well, but he looks good winning this.
Yeah, he does. This might just, be a situation where it could wind up being too much too soon, Dan, but I totally understand why Mandela wants to give him a shot here. This horse was really impressive first time out. He had the good speed. He had that entire field in drives behind him around the turn there. They just could not keep up with him. And I really like the way that he finished it off too. Stretching out, stepping up into a race like this. It's a really tall order. I think this is a good horse.
Tim Yakteen has 4 ex-Baffert trainees in this field, including Fort Bragg, who was 3rd in the race we showed you, the Los Alamitos Futurity last time out. May not have gotten the great trip in that race, and distance is okay for him. I think he has versatile enough where he can sit off the pace and be successful.
I do too. It's going to be interesting to see how long it takes him to just finally put everything together, Dan. He just looked like a real head case to me as a 2-year-old, and maybe that's why they actually rated him in the Los Futurity. In that last race, that he got off to a good start in that race, but Pratt was not going to let him have the lead. He took a hold of him. He wound up last early in there, and he tried to make a run. He just really couldn't get into it. I don't really want to hold that race against him too much, because to me, this horse showed a ton of potential in his prior 2 starts, and he did that despite having no idea what he was supposed to be doing. He got DQ'd when he beat Practical Move. He was so much better than Practical Move in that race, but he just didn't know what he was doing, and he wound up costing himself a win. And even in the maiden win in his next start, Dan, he pulled himself up on the lead in that race until they came to him. and then he re-engaged again. I think this horse has talent. I wonder if he's got his head together finally.
The number 10 is Skinner. He goes out for Kentucky Derby winning trainer John Sheriffs, who treated this one with a lot of respect last year at 2. He ran him short in his debut, going 5.5 against Having a Meltdown, who might be the best 3-year-old dirt sprinter in the country right now. And he ran on at the end of this race like many Sheriffs trained first-time starters, galloped out great. They then ran him against Cave Rock in the Del Mar Futurity. They ran him against Cave Rock in the American Pharoah. Maybe too much too soon. Here's his seasonal debut off the October layoff. Got an opportunity again to go 2 turns, going a mile in this race, and he made a 4-wide bid on the turn to get into contention, and he keeps on grinding. 95 Beyer speed figure puts him in the mix.
Yeah, this is good stuff here in his 3-year-old debut, Dan. He's another one. You could understand why they thought he was good enough to run in a couple of grade 1s as a 2-year-old. He showed potential. It didn't work out in those races. This is exactly what you wanted to see in his 3-year-old debut. He smashed that field, and he did it under confident handling from Espinoza all the way around the track. He's really, really dangerous in here.
The 4th ex-Baffert trainee is Mr. Fisk. He's going to complete the field with Frankie Dettori aboard. He's just stepped forward since he's gotten an opportunity to get around 2 turns. Let's watch his most recent race. This is in early January, a 2-turn mile, and we see Mr. Fisk down towards the inside, and that horse ahead of him is pretty good. Harlow Cap would come back from this race to win a maiden special weight with an 85. Once Mr. Fisk gets out into the clear and sees daylight, he explodes.
Like the run that he puts in here, all in all, I thought he got a good trip in this race, and he's going to run down a pretty nice horse at the end. That horse that he ran down, though, had real trouble early in that race, and then he went pretty fast on the lead. And you could just sort of see there in the replay, Harlow Cap was pretty tired at the end of that race. I don't want to knock Mr. Fisk too hard because he's got potential, but this is a tough post, and to me, this is a way, way, way tougher field.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the San Felipe, an important Kentucky Derby qualifying points race. Mike, you're going with Fort Bragg. He's green, but he's pretty good.
Yeah, I want to give him a chance in here. Dan, I just feel like this is maybe the kind of race, because he wasn't really competitive in the Los Al the last time we saw him, the Los Al Futurity, that maybe he'll get overlooked in this race. I think he's got some talent. I think he's going to be a price in here. I want him on top. I almost wound up with the same horse as you, Skinner. I was really taken with his 3-year-old debut.
Let's see if Skinner can do it against better horses. He's already finished behind National Treasure. He's already finished behind Hijazi. He might be bigger and stronger now as a 3-year-old, and he should get some pace to attack going out for a barn that historically gives them time, and once they start to mature, they find their best stride. 9-10-3-8 for Mike, 10-2-7-3 for me. Nice edition of the San Felipe on Big Cap Saturday at the Great Race Place. Good luck.